Why? Why are we punishing the Australian people? Why are we punishing Australian workers to go harder and faster than the rest of the world on this issue? It doesn't help the environment at all. It just is costing Australian jobs.
Joining me is National Senator M.Canavan, the former Resources Minister. M.Canavan, thanks for your time. What does this Tomago announcement tell you?
Well, Andrew, the green energy chickens are coming home to roost. We've been promised now for years that green energy would lead to lower power prices, that it would save Australian manufacturing. In fact, it would lead to a new renaissance. We were promised extra investment in critical minerals, in rare earths, in hydrogen. Remember that, hydrogen, all thanks to the wonders of wind and solar energy. And right now, we're finding out that the reality, the lived reality of renewable energy bites. It bites very badly, and it's very sad for the looking like 1,000-odd workers there in the Hunter Valley that face a loss of their job because the Labor government here in Canberra has made promises that it can't keep. Now, what we hear from this government is the kind of management gobbledygook that a once proud Labor Party would have ridiculed, would have laughed at, because whenever we have seen those manufacturing downturns in previous years, you always get consultants and bosses of big companies talking of rationalisation, globalisation, downsizing, and it's just all excuses to sack people and put them on the streets. Now we have a Labor government that revels in language like the global energy transition. What the hell does that mean? What does that mean for any of these 1,000 families that are now facing Christmas where they may not have a job? It's just absolutely absurd that the Labor Party now, it's just very sad that a proud Labor Party used to stand up for workers, is reduced now to this corporate gobbledygook that means nothing to anybody and is not delivering results.
There is no global energy revolution of any kind, transition or whatever they want to call it. The world is using more coal than ever. I mean, seriously. And the crazy thing here, Matt, about this, think the whole agenda is to cut our emissions. Now you've got Tomago and so many other smelters. Well, they're exactly what should be the first to go under a program designed to do that, because they are the biggest users of electricity, the biggest emitters in the country. But now that they are closing, as a consequence of policies to close heavy emitters, now the federal and state governments think, oh my gosh, this is too embarrassing. They're offering massive subsidies, investments to these smelters to try to stay open. In Whyalla, the smelter in Mount Isa, in Bell Bay, Tomago. I mean, this is madness, isn't it? Yeah, look, it gets worse, Andrew. Obviously, the precise cause, the imminent cause here of this terrible situation at Tomago is the collapse in our energy competitiveness, the force feeding of too much renewable energy into our electricity grid. But over the longer term here, we have this absurd situation that your government, the Labor government, is placing a carbon tax on facilities like Tomago. Tomago is included, but they have something called the safeguard mechanism, where over 200 factories and mines and other terrible things that produce jobs and wealth for our country, they're asked to pay a carbon tax to reduce their emissions by 5% a year, and most of those firms have to go and buy carbon credits to meet those reductions. They place a cost on their doing business. And then, as you say, after imposing those costs, after effectively imposing a tax on wealth creation, a tax on manufacturing, when that threatens the viability of these institutions, the government comes along and is coming along now and throwing billions of dollars of taxpayer funded support to try and keep them open. I mean, the government doesn't know whether it's Arthur or Martha here. Why put a tax on businesses that you want to keep going and want to keep being viable? It makes no sense at all, and it certainly makes no sense for Australia to be imposing these emission reductions, the costs of these emission reductions on Australians. When we are doing so, our emission cuts are about double what the developed world is doing. Not China and India. Let's leave them to one side. They're just going like the clappers, right, on emissions. But even if you compare us and benchmark us to the US, to Japan, to Korea, to Europe, we are doing double what those countries are doing. Why? When the government announced its 2035 targets, Matt Keane said that we have a higher ambition than other advanced economies. Why? Why are we punishing the Australian people? Why are we punishing Australian workers to go harder and faster than the rest of the world on this issue? It doesn't help the environment at all. It just is costing Australian jobs. And by the way, the more smelters the government props
up to stay open, there are other companies then that aren't so heavily unionised. That's the key here, Matt. That must close because we've got to cut emissions according to the government. So which companies then have to pay the price? Matt, I don't think now that the Liberals have got any option but to scrap the net zero target. I mean, look, it's a target-rich environment at the moment. Kevin Rudd, Matt, is back in Australia. And that's after Donald Trump, of course, told him a couple of weeks ago at the meeting with our Prime Minister he'd never like our ambassador to Washington, never like Rudd, never would. Rudd was questioned a couple of hours ago about his relationship with Trump. Have a listen to this.
How are you all?
Good, thank you. Donald Trump
how are you, mate? Haven't seen you for a while.
It's been a while.
Ambassador
It's good to be back in Canberra. I'm here with the Trade Minister. We're speaking to a gathering of Australian business who want to do a lot of business investment and trade with the United States, and that's what we're here to do.
Is it good to have patched things up with President Trump?
He doesn't forget people who quote say
Well,
bad
you know
about
something?
him.
You know what I think is that the Prime Minister had an excellent meeting with the President of the United States, and we're here to do a job.
Is it good to have patched things up with him, Mr. Rudd?
Mr. Rudd, what do you think of those comments from Donald Trump that he doesn't forget people who quote say
Well,
bad
you know
about
what
him?
I would say is that I'm from America, and I'm here to help, and my name's Kevin.
He's here to help, Matt. Let's not forget that Kevin Rudd is the one who first said global warming is a great moral challenge of our time, had an emissions reduction scheme that he said at the time would cost us the average Australian $1 a year. What a joke that was. He's here to help. Is that good news?
Well, I think what was most interesting about that is the guy next to Kevin's a guy called Don Farrell, the leader of the government, deputy leader of the government in the Senate. He's got an interesting relationship with Kevin. I think he was enjoying that more than anyone else. He may even called the media and told them they'd be there to arrange that. Who knows? But look, look, I wish Kevin all the best, Andrew. I always have. I want to see Australia succeed on the world stage. He's our Australian ambassador. I hope he does well. And look, the deal that was done last week was good. But as I said last week, the best deal for an international agreement is always its first day. The real test comes when you have to implement it and the rubber hits the road. And going back to our early discussion, I'm very concerned here that the government's promised a lot to deliver rare earths, deliver critical minerals for the American government. But if we can't have competitive energy prices, we're not going to be able to succeed in the metals manufacturing markets that we need to control to reduce the grip of the Chinese Communist Party. It's not just about digging stuff out of the ground. We have to succeed in the processing of those minerals to supply useful products to America. And while ever we have some of the highest power prices in the world, that is going to be nigh on impossible. So the government needs to fix that solution if we're really going to contribute to resilient supply chains in the free world.
Let me absolutely endorse and underline that point, Matt. Let's not forget the reason China corners the world production of these rare earth minerals is one of the reasons is that it has plentiful, cheap coal-fired power. And that is one reason it invested in coal-fired power for Indonesia for the same reason. And that helped wipe out our nickel industry, including nickel smelters, completely. And now we're going to be in the rare earths business.
And we send them our coal, Andrew. We send them our coal to do that. Right? We don't use it ourselves, we send it to them. We dig our own graves.
Honestly, the further you go in this, the madder it is. M.Canavan, thank you so much for your time.